I just can't fathom and understand for the life of me how Bulls fans, after all of these years, haven't figured it out yet. Like maybe to me, it's just so strikingly, easily obvious. And maybe others just don't want to accept the truth. Like, I don't really know. But it's something. Because I can't, for the life of me, grasp how Bulls fans were foolish enough, naive enough, to think that getting rid of a Gar Foreman, having John Paxson step aside, and bringing in new front office people was going to change anything. Why would you think that? What in the world would possibly possess you to believe that? Because you want to? Well, I want to believe that Serena Williams is going to walk on camera and throw me on the ground and sit on my damn face until I submit. Let the waterworks flow, slip and slide, baby. I'm looking, it's probably not going to happen. And that's okay. But I'm not going to sit there and continue to delude myself into believing that someday it could certainly be possible. Not sure anything is possible, but I mean, how realistic is that? Really? Like thinking all of a sudden that new leadership of the front office is going to matter one thing or another. Like you should know by now. And based off of the reports we're seeing the past couple of days, if this bears out to be true, and I certainly could expect it to, because of the organization we're talking about, and specifically the person that we're talking about, of course they would be considering bringing Jim Boylen back, that bum, to be their head coach next season. Because there are financial implications. Did you forget who the hell the owner of this team is? It's Jerry freaking Reinsdorf. And what really baffles my mind and just blows me off my feet is there are a lot of Bulls fans that also happen to be Sox fans. So you get a double dip of the suck of the Reinsdorf ownership experience, and yet and still you thought somehow, someway, things all of a sudden, you get rid of Foreman, Paxson moves aside, things are magically going to be different. What the hell would make you think that? And I take this back to the 90s. We talked about a couple of months ago when they were running the Last Dance documentary. And believe me, over the years, I've had plenty to say about the Penguin, rest in peace, Captain Power Forward himself. You're talking about a guy whose ego ran amok. Oh, the players don't win championships, organizations do. Like, even if there is an element of a shred of truth to that, it is still something you don't say. Just take the titles and shut your damn mouth. Say it, don't spray it, I guess. And especially when you look at Krause. That Jerry. And you look at what he did with the draft in the 90s. Like, once you got past 90 and getting Tony Kukoc in the second round and getting Scott Williams undrafted out of North Carolina, that was pretty good work right there, admittedly. You look at that whole rest of the stretch of 90s, and it was one disaster after another. Remember the Mark Randall experience? Oh, that was a good one. Remember 6'2", 500-pound point guard Byron Houston? I know I'm being ridiculous, but he was ridiculous, and he didn't matter two hella beans to that organization. Then you got Jerry Krause sitting there before the 93 draft, taking a look at that Bearcats team from Cincinnati under fucking Huggins, and looking at it and saying, you know what? That Nick the Quick Van Exel might actually be able to play in the league. So instead, let me draft Corey, light it up, big boy Blunt. And if you know anything about his post-NBA life, you know he certainly lived up to his last name. It was for personal use, Your Honor. Corey Blunt! Like, even when he drafted from the right team, he still drafted the wrong player because he had this sickness, this infatuation with drafting power forwards every stupid year like a senile old coot. It's like putting Vince McMahon in charge of your freaking NBA draft. The next year he turns around and takes Dickie Simpkins out of Providence. Oh, that's gonna make a difference. Then the next year, hey, look at this. A surefire kid that's going to be a long-term NBA player and a really good one. And anybody with eyes and a brain, even me back then, all 14 years old, watching Big Ten basketball, being an Illini fan, knew that this kid that came from the Chicago area, right in your freaking backyard, that played well at Wisconsin, was a star there. You knew he was going to be really good in the NBA. His name was Michael Finley. You took one look and said, nah, hard pass. Give me Jason Caffey for freaking Alabama. Then the next year, Captain Travis drafted me with the last pick of the first round, then rescind my rights night. Remember that classic? Oh, the Keith Booth. Oh, that was a good one. Like, even though he wasn't technically a big man, a power forward or a center, I mean, he moved like one, so what the hell was the difference? And then, oh, don't forget about the Corey Benjamin one. Took himself another 6'5", 300-pound two-guard. He had some delusions of him. Like, even when he wouldn't draft a power forward, like, you wouldn't have had to burn a pick and waste it on a sack of crap like Corey Benjamin. I could beat Michael Jordan in a one-on-one. How'd that work out for you? You wouldn't have to do that if you'd have taken Michael Finley like the hell you should have. Instead, you took Jason Caffey after 2 straight years of drafting power forwards. And none of them really landed long term. And even though Caffey was by far, the best of the three, he didn't even make it through all 3 championship seasons before you trade him away because you're a moron. And then even once he finally got to do his big master plan, what did you think he was going to do? Of course he was going to take the undersized power forward in Elton Brand. And of course he was going to take the college power forward that he was going to have to convert to the 3 and Ron Artest. Now you sit there and you look and you say, hey, well, you know, that actually worked out kind of well until you realize a couple of years later he was starting all over freaking again because the next year he decided, oh, give me some of that Marcus Pfizer action. I'll play him at the number 3 small forward. Oh, fuck. Even when he took Chris Mim and eventually traded him for Jamal Crawford, I thought he had lost his damn mind because Chris Mim was a big guy. He only liked to draft big guys. And then the next year he turns around and says, you know what? I'm going to start it all over again. Give me the kids. Give me Curry and give me Chandler because I'm a damn fool. I understand. Look, it is incredibly easy based off of the history here. And the narrative that has been set by Jordan, by others, the media over the years, to blame Jerry Krause. Especially now, since he is no longer around to defend himself. But did he own the Chicago Bulls? Hell no. That was Jerry Reinsdorf. Reinsdorf's the one that let Jerry Krause continue to run things into the damn ground. He's the one that allowed Krause's ego to run amok. He's the one that couldn't get him to shut up or step aside in order to retain Phil Jackson, which meant that they could have potentially retained Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and potentially Dennis Rodman for that strike-short and lockout-short 99 season where they could have maybe gotten a 4th championship in a row in 7th and 9 years. And no, those feelings do not die, and they will never go away. Who's the one that let that all happen on his watch? It's not Jerry Krause, it's Jerry freaking Reinsdorf. Who's the one that let Garpax sit there and run the Bulls into the ground all these last several years? You can't blame Jerry Krause. He was gone and now he's dead. Ding dong, dumb dicks. It's Jerry Reinsdorf. Even when you talk about the White Sox, like maybe they'll do something good this year. But it was like that 2005 season was an absolute freaking fluke. And here's a guy, you win a World Series, and instead of using that to say, hey, you know what? The hell with the Cubs. The media loves him and everybody else, but we play in a big market, and we're actually World Series champions at that time. He did everything he did and could do to continue to play the old, tired, played-out Reinsdorf small market, even though I'm in the 3rd biggest market in the freaking country card. And you want to tell me that you think because Foreman's gone and Paxson step aside, that things are going to be different or magically better? What the hell are you smoking? And furthermore, the more important question, can I get some of that, dog? Because you're insane. To borrow from Jerry Krause, organizations do win championships. To a certain degree, yes, that's true. And it all starts at the very top. It is not just something as simple as you have players and they go out there and win. That is clearly not it. It is something that was poorly worded by Jerry Krause, as so often is the case, but not totally out of the realm of accuracy. Just a little off. Could have been better worded, better presented, better explained. But when it comes down to it, if your ownership sucks, your front office can only do but so much to overcome that. Your head coach can only do but so much to overcome that. Your roster, and in particular, your star or superstar players, which of course the Bulls have none, And if you tell me Zach LaVine is a superstar, then you could just kick right off of this channel permanently as far as I'm concerned. They can only do but so much to overcome. Nothing is going to change with the Bulls until Reinsdorf ceases to be the owner of the Bulls. It's like Bill Fold Wirtz back in the day. Like, I don't even call him Bill Wirtz anymore. I call him Bill Fold Wirtz. He's the one that fought for the lockout. And then when he died, it was a great day in Blackhawks history because he died so that way his team may survive. And they ended up eventually winning 3 cups because they got the old man out of the damn way. This is the same Reinsdorf that was certainly the brains behind both the labor strife in baseball in '94 that, oh, by the way, ended up potentially very negatively impacting that very good White Sox team in '94 with Frank Thomas and Blackjack McDowell and so forth. Because he had to. You had to have the strike. The lockout, 99. Reinsdorf again. An instrumental part of that. That's fact. Like, you really think that by having Foreman and Paxson step aside, that things are going to be better? Well, who's the one that put those guys in that position to begin with and let it be there all that time? It was Reinsdorf! Think about it if you're a White Sox fan and a Bulls fan. Those of you that wanted Harper and Machado or Harper, who'd you end up with? None of them. Right? Why? Because of Jerry Reinsdorf. Jerry Reinsdorf's the same guy that used to sit there and pat himself on the back. He goes, at the end of it, I was paying Michael Jordan $30+ million. The dude brought you hundreds of millions of dollars in return, you cheap son of a gun. You got that crappy United Center because of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Your franchise, all of these years later, even though it is largely irrelevant, is still one of the more valuable franchises in the entire world because of the impact, the aura of those 90 Bulls, and most notably Michael Jeffrey Jordan. You could have made Michael Jordan $250 million a year in salary, and it still would have been an incredible bargain. Like, this is what we're talking about and dealing with when we're talking about freaking Reinsdorf. And until he ceases, for one reason or another, to be the owner of the Bulls, things are not going to get better on any consistent basis. You can count on it. And as long as he continues to be the owner of the White Sox, it's not going to get significantly better on a consistent basis. And even those White Sox fans that want to hope and believe, you really want to hope and believe, how did it go after 2005? That's now 15 years later. I mean, seriously? As far as the Bulls, like, how many damn rebuilds have we had now? I just can't believe. Of course they would keep Jim Boylen. The players don't respect him. He's a freaking knucklehead as a coach. But because they made financial commitments to him, which, by the way, they did not have to do, they chose to do, they probably will stick with him because that is the epitome of Reinsdorf. That is the epitome of who he is and what he represents. It's like the Tribune Company on steroids, if you remember the Tribune Company and all their years of owning the Cubs. No, we got a really good team. You bring in Dusty Baker. We don't need to give Pudge Rodriguez $10 million for 1 year for 2003. We're going to trot out Damian Miller and Paul Baco! So you can watch Pudge beat you in the NLCS and eventually go win the World Series ring. That for all intents and purposes should have been yours. Because you want to fork over $10 million freaking dollars for one freaking season that you knew dang good and well as a Tribune Company you couldn't afford it back in 2003. It's the same crap here with Reinsdorf. Why do you think so many free agents, they get out there on the open market? They want no parts of Chicago. The McGrady's, Duncans, Hills all use freaking the Bulls organization as leverage so you get stuck holding the door open for Ron Mercer and Eddie Robinson. Christ almighty. Then you couldn't even win the Amari Stoudemire sweepstakes. They lost on freaking Nets. You got stuck with Carlos Boozer. You couldn't even win with Amari. And then let's not even forget about the whole, hey, you got Wade, Bosch, and freaking LeBron all available at the same time. They all want to go to the same place. And you missed out on every single one of them. Why? Because they remember what happened in the 90s with Jordan and Phil Jackson and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman. And they remember Jerry Krause, but most notably of all, they remember the delinquent in chief that allowed it to burn to the freaking ground, and that's Jerry Reinsdorf. Of course they would keep Jim Boylen because he's a cheap bastard and he doesn't care about winning.